My name is Tamy. This is Felipe, my husband and business partner. And we are ex-advertising people, and our story, the most recent story began about 4 years ago. I was a strategic planner. Gary Bowen and Felipe was an account guy. Don't throw tomatoes. Don't throw tomatoes. And we wanted to. He always had this thing for cooking, and he cooked so fucking good. And I knew it, and he. It's so hard to do it in a regular basis because life catches on with you, and so we kind of did this thing where we got married. We had. And then we got China because we had all these presents from when we got married, and the whole art of hosting dinner parties. It was kind of like something that we didn't do because you live in New York and you're always eating out and you're always kind of doing different things. But we said let's do dinners at our house. Let's kind of bring it back. Like I remember from my house in Mexico City, and Felipe remembers it from his homes in Bogota and Madrid and Sao Paulo, Mexico City as well. Let's bring it back. Let's bring that back, and I'll write about it, and you'll cook, and we'll do different guests each time and different recipes, and I'll write about it. And it was like a Tuesday night or something. We're like, okay, let's do it, but let's really do it on Thursday. So we start on Thursday. We invite our closest friends. The food was interesting, but it was like we drank a lot, and we kind of got that machine rolling. And
I still see pictures from that first meal, and it's embarrassing because it lives online. Like people could actually go in and see what we served, and it's really bad.
What was it?
It wasn't that bad. It was good. We'll show it. So that started happening, and we started writing about it, and then it just kind of like took on, and we were doing it. We were like very eminent about doing it. I had like my routine from Gary Bowen Highline to the market in Chelsea, where we had an $75 budget, because $80 budget, because for us I was like, if we went out, maybe we would. That's how much we would spend. So that was our budget, and people would bring in wine. That was kind of like the deal. And there were nights where I would be in the Highline and like listening to music and be like, oh my God, New York, and I'm gonna meet so many different people. And there were nights where I was like, fucking Felipe and I, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? I'm so tired. Like I had to write a strategy or a brief in the morning. So it kind of went like that for a very long time.
Sure. Yeah. So I was definitely still in advertising. And yeah, I was an account person. I don't think there's a single account person in this room, which is cool.
They're not invited.
I know, we're not invited. It's terrible. But I'm not that anymore, I swear to God. My business partner is though, but that's okay. So yeah, we started this craziness, and it was really fun, and it was really interesting. And we had 8 people every single Thursday, and we'd have to cook a brand new menu every single week. And it was interesting, and a lot of different people came through, and every single Thursday we got really shit-faced. And we had to go to work the next day and pretend that didn't happen, and that we're
all
not.
Your friends or people that you
No, it was complete strangers. Like it started as our friends.
Sorry.
Twitter, Facebook,
Okay, so people would like sign
through
up.
the blog.
And you give them the food for free, and they would just bring the wine.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was quite interesting.
do that again.
Yeah. The reason basically why we went in that direction was because I didn't feel I had time to go to culinary school. Like I didn't feel that I had the time to quit advertising. I just got married, kind of promised this woman that I was actually going to take care of like a family or something like that. And going through the ideas that I'd have to quit and go back to school was just daunting, scary, something that I was not ready to do. So it was kind of like, let's take a step back and let's just practice for a full year and really go through menus and go through things that we could do and things that I couldn't do and figure out what works and what doesn't work and what I like to cook, basically, and find out. And literally, like, there were days in which, like, some days that I had a crap load of eggs, and I realized I don't know how to poach eggs, and I had to start boiling water and putting eggs in and in and in until I knew how to poach eggs perfectly. And that was like for 1 year. We had the goal of getting through the full year, and by the time that this started in May, by the time that January came along, we had grown a good group of people that kept on coming back. Or not, they never came back. They wanted to come back because nobody was ever invited twice. So they kept on wanting to come back. They pushed us like do something different, go to another space, invite other people, invite more people, make it bigger. We did the first bigger dinner at a production house that was for 20 people, red carpet.
Interesting.
And that was really cool. I got super excited. I remember 2 days after that, it was actually December. 2 days after that, I went on a shoot to LA, and I was super psyched about like cooking for so many people. And then I was doing a shoot where the client was like, "Nope, cut. Yeah, I want to see that guy repeat the same word but differently." And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Where am I doing this?" And so basically in December, I knew that it was over. I really knew that it was long gone, that it was time for me to move on. And basically January, February, March, and then through April. But through those 4 months, we started doing something really cool, which was like popping up in different spaces in the city. We could find a big space, and we'd do like dinners for like 60 people or 30 people or something like that. And we'd sell tickets, and people would come, and I would try to cook, and sometimes it would work really well, sometimes I'd fail miserably. But it worked, and in the long run, it worked really, really well, and it was really fun. It really basically got me, my feet wet, if you will. And then April came along, and I guess the people at Digitas kind of realized that I really wasn't paying that much attention to my job. And so they decided in a round of layoffs to include me in there, which I'm totally cool with because I was at severance, and I was kind of happy. Like at the end of the day, like I remember trembling, calling Tamy, like I just got laid off, and she's like, "Let's do this. It's time. Let's make it happen." And awesome. We were absolutely scared. At that point, this was April, and it was basically, if I remember correctly, it was around the 9th or 10th of April. We had one dinner for 60 people. We were completely sold out, scheduled for something like the 15th of April, and on the 17th of April, we were going to go to Sicily. So it was like, we had this really intense week planned ahead of us, and on the day before the dinner,
April 14th.
the dinner was something around there, whatever it was.
Thank you.
I get a phone call from downstairs, from in the apartment we were living. I get a phone call. They're telling me, "So there's somebody here from the Department of Health." And I was like, "What?" Like, the Department of Health is here to see me. Why the fuck would the Department of Health be here to see me? And they basically shut us down. Essentially, they basically told us that we could not continue to do what we were doing, that we were putting the public health at risk, and that we needed to basically find and operate from a kitchen that is sanctioned by the Department of Health. I got super scared at that moment, obviously, and then for me it was go and talk to the director of the Department of Health and figure out who that was and just make friends, because I needed to be friends with the Department of Health in the city. Somebody wrote a really cool article about us on New York Magazine, and that awesome person, because she's a good friend of ours, called the Department of Health and said, "Have you guys heard of them? Because I want to see." As a journalist, she did a very good thing, which was she did an article about supper clubs and how they are being received in the city, and how the Department of Health receives them. And so the Department of Health was like, "Who the fuck are these motherfuckers operating?" She's still very good friends, absolutely. I mean, she basically kicked our ass to make it happen to where we are today, right? So
that happened, and Felipe was out of a job to pursue this thing where like we had just been shut down. So that wasn't happening. That wasn't happening in the dinner for 60 or in our apartment. And we did go to that trip with your parents. It was very awkward and it was really, really annoying. Really annoying. And then Felipe said, no, we're gonna do this. We're gonna translate what we're doing here to a restaurant. Like we're gonna do what we're doing in the dinners. Sorry, I'm like, we're gonna do what we're doing in the dinners in our restaurant. So we're walking everywhere, we're trying to find this place because it's all about the place, like where is this place that is going to host these dinner parties that we did at our apartment. And I remember like one day we were like walking around Chinatown and like Lower East Side and like it just wasn't happening. And one day Felipe calls me and I'm at my Mone and he's like, I found the place. And you and I had been there on a date and the food was good, but the place is perfect. The place is perfect. 58 MacDougall, right here. Right here. So that happened. We opened the doors. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. We opened the doors to a place called Cómodo, which means comfortable. And we were set out to do what we were doing at our house. We got our ass kicked a lot of times. I was running front of house, which I had no idea what to do, which is when we brought on board Mac Osborne, right there, our director of operations and partner of ours. And he was the Mandarin Oriental, like kind of directing my operations from his place to little tiny place in Cómodo. He was tired also of the corporate life, which also exists in the restaurant world. And soon enough joined us, and we'll go back to that. But you know, it was very, very tough. It's been almost 4 years, 3.5 years of Cómodo. And in that trajectory, a year and a half goes on and we're like in this high of like restaurant and we're able to translate the experience. It's a dinner party and we're there and it's happening and it's been tough and it's been good, but let's keep going. It's all in Brooklyn now, food and creativity. Like we gotta go to Brooklyn, and I have been visiting Fort Greene, and like I'm all about Fort Greene, and all our partners at this point. It's like Como's like a year and a half old, and we're like, yeah, let's go, let's do it. So we find this place in Fort Greene.
We didn't find a place in Fort Greene. Tamy, for her birthday, decided that. Well, first of all, this is Como. And this is the part that I hate too. I really don't want to be an ass. I really don't. But there's that little guy. We had to leave advertising to win the fucking Cannes Lion. Just FYI. That's a whole nother story. But that was just a really fun thing. And yeah, it's a small little place, 45-seater. Como's beautiful. It's our heart and soul poured into it. From Instagram menu, exactly. I have an Instagram menu campaign. And so yeah, so Tamy one day woke up, she's like, it's my birthday, I want to go, let's go to Brooklyn, let's go figure out what we're going to be doing. And we literally found Colonia Verde on her birthday. We found the space. And it was one of those things like we figured out who the landlord was, and we called him, and he's like, we're just not even on the market, the place just closed. Can we see it? And Tamy went to see it, and it was one of those things like you walk in, and you're like, oh shit, we're doing this. Like this place is perfect. And Colonia Verde, honestly, we opened it up a year and a half ago. It's one of the most beautiful restaurants. And I say it not because it's mine, but it's insane. It's insanely beautiful. And then this is the outside, just in case you need more space. And again, I don't say it because it's mine. I say it because it's like I'm super proud of it. But it was just like one of those things like we ran into this space. How do you just run into this space? Yeah, right.
But so this is happening while I'm, by the way, 8.5 months pregnant when we opened for Colonia Verde, and it was just kind of like this high of like we're doing, and once you start doing, you want to do more and do more and do more, and like this was happening a year, like a very hard year, because first baby, Cómodo still having its like issues because it's still a new restaurant. In Colonia Verde, you know, like doing well, but like very, very tough year one. And 2 years, two days before year one, I'm somewhere, I'm about to go to the restaurant and I call Mac and he tells me there was a fire. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, no, there was a fire. Like, the firefighters are here. And I was like, what do you mean? Like and we have like an app on our phone to check out the restaurants, and I see like smoke everywhere, and there's like real firefighters like just going like from one side to another. So that was Colonia Verde right before year one.
Is that the one in the city?
It's in Brooklyn. So that was like a harsh like, okay, like let's put our foot down, like what happened, you know, like we had gotten all this momentum from Como Colonia Verde. It was almost like right before year one, and then we opened right in Valentine's Day, so it's like right before year one and right before Valentine's Day, and I was like, oh fuck, it was really bad. We're booked for Valentine's Day, so that was very hard, and we're like, okay, we gotta keep the entire team. We had brought 2 incredible partners on board, Mac and Carolina, and it was like, there's no going back now. Like we have 4 partners, like there's no way to go back. So we previously had started catering that was part of Cómodo called Compartir, which focuses a lot on you know, catering for corporations and bringing what we were doing to corporations, which is hard because it's kind of like letting their people's guards down inside an office, and how do you do that? And it was like a project that we were doing a little bit with Cómodo, but like we're like, now we gotta do it. So it was kind of like out of necessity that our catering company really started taking off from this fire, because we had all these people that were unemployed all of a sudden, and we were responsible for, you know, their paycheck every week. So Compartir came to be, and Compartir is doing good now, and Colonia Verde finally reopened again a month ago, and it was good because it felt more lived in, it felt more like we took, yeah, thank you. We took 4 months to really think through everything. Like, it was kind of like a blessing in disguise. Like year one, what will you do different? Like, what will you change? What will you tweak? How will you like do this? How will you do the menu different? I remember like we had like a lot of nights where like we would challenge each other, and I would tell Felipe like, how's your menu now? Like Colonia Verde should be your evolution from Cómodo. Because Cómodo was always the baby, and it was very hard to grow into something else when Cómodo was like the heart of everything that we were doing. So it was kind of like an appendix to everything that we were doing, and I was like, no, I'm gonna challenge you now. This is your latest menu as a chef, what are you gonna do? So it's like, Colonia Verde got that chance to be a true evolution from Cómodo in all the sense. So I think that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just before we jump into the experiment, I do want to say 2 things. First off, we're literally a block away from Cómodo. Literally a block away from Cómodo.
It's so good.
So if you guys want to get a drink afterwards, just say Madmen. You get a free sangria.
And tonight already.
Right. It's salsa water anytime. You don't have to say Madmen. It's totally cool. And the other thing is that I just want to I want to give out a huge, proud round of applause, because today Tamy has officially become a sommelier. That's very cool. Yeah? Oh well, that's what we're going to right now. That's exactly what we're going to. So we're gonna have some questions just right after. What we're gonna do right now is gonna be something really fun, because we've each written questions for each other that we haven't read, So we don't know what questions, I don't know what questions she's going to ask me. And the idea of this was to make an experiment of which we could really ask poignant questions about the past 4 or 5 years, ever since advertising. And Stephanie, thank you very much, because it gave us an idea, it gave us a moment to reflect. Because, like Mike was saying, like you just do. And you have no chance to like look back. And you just have to go, and you go forward, and like, yeah, I fucked up, all right, whatever, let's continue moving until, and figure it out. You don't really get a chance to like, look back and think about what happened since that time. So as a strategic planner, right, and Tamy, just so everybody knows, loved her job. She loved her job, she loved it. As a strategic planner, how have you applied planning into this insane world of restaurants?
That's a complex question to ask to a planner, because we go all out. But I think culture plays a big role in restaurants. I think community plays a big role. I think the one key thing that I feel like we keep applying is that stick to your story, I feel like cómodo is, and it came from my mom's motto, which she doesn't remember that she said it, but I kind of do, and now it's a thing. But I remember like her saying, food tastes better when it's shared, and it's always about bringing people together, and I always remember that, and I keep going back to that. So I think biggest learning as a strategic planner is find the moral to the story and stick to it, like stick to the story no matter what. And I think restaurants is such a reactive industry that like you kind of like have to move, and it's seasonal, and then like summer hits, and then like your story has to change. And I've been very, I think Mac will agree that I've been the one that is like, stick to the story, and then Mac is like, but it doesn't make sense for the business. I'm like, stick to the story, like it'll pay off, like no matter what. If it's comfortable in the name, it has to be comfortable. Make it an experience for people. So I think that's been like the biggest learning as a planner applied to the restaurant world. All right, so for Felipe. When you left advertising, what felt like the biggest risk, and how has that changed?
When I left advertising, I had never worked in a restaurant. I had no idea how to run a kitchen, and now I had just given myself the title of chef. I wasn't scared. I was petrified. I was absolutely petrified of what the hell I was going to do. So I definitely have to say that when I left advertising, my biggest fear was to figure out how the hell I was going to operate and run a restaurant. And how has that changed? It's beautiful, because I feel like we run kitchens that are very different from the rest of New York, and that I think I don't know, Mac, you tell me, they're personal. They're kitchens that, people love to work there, and it's very different. And I think it's one of those things that it's helped, because if I knew how to run a kitchen and a tighter shift, I would have been an asshole. And I think that's what we're trying to avoid. The kitchen we work in, like, you want to get there the next day. You really want to be there, and I think that's kind of, or I hope that's kind of what's happened. Oh, that's right. I asked you a question. It's cool, right? All right. What has been your biggest regret since you left advertising?
Wow. Do you really want to hear this?
My biggest regret since I left planning. I think enjoying it even more, because I feel like as a planner you get to just be an observer of culture and analyze it, and then you don't have to do, you're just like a philosopher, you just like observe and you tell. and that's beautiful. And I kind of miss that because it's like, okay, great observation. Now what do we do with that? And there's a beauty of that. I think I miss that. I think I miss the laissez-faire of, you know, the ad world days where there wasn't like so much like at the end of the day, like, so what does that mean for the business, for Felipe, for myself, for our daughter, you know, like so much of it. My daughter's a year and a half. And if I could, I would do slides over. Okay, how did the city play a role in the transition, and how so, if it did?
The beauty of New York is that people think that it's such a saturated restaurant market, but the truth is that it's super saturated. It's not saturated, it's super saturated. There's way too many restaurants for the amount of people that need to consume food here, which makes for an awesome environment when you're working in it, because people stop being competitive and just start being your brothers, and they start being your friends, and they help you, and people are helping each other in this business. And that's something that's so unusual. Like my neighbor, 12 chairs, the coolest guy in the world, and you know, he called me the other day, he's like, you have a problem with, you know, you had some problem, I sent in my electrician and fixed it, just want to let you know. How does that even happen? That's the coolest thing in the world. And so it's like this city that allows for you to own a business, and it just kind of helps you make it as easy as possible within the most difficult situation that you can possibly imagine. What are you most excited about for the future?
Wow. I think where I'm most excited about the future of what we're doing is how it evolves into maybe something else. I feel like when we did the transition, it was like restaurants and like how was the restaurant experience, and then catering came along, and that kind of like brought in this different model but same heart. I'm interested in what happens next, and it doesn't have to be the form of a restaurant. How is it that what we do translates into something else? And I don't know what that is, but maybe Michael is. Maybe we can share. Maybe we can share social media manager or something. Did the times we live in hinder or help us build what we have built?
Wow. Deep. We definitely started the supper club in the wake of, right at the end of like a serious financial crisis. And it's so cool because you can say that now and like you're like, oh yeah, financial crisis, it was terrible. It sucked, and like it really was pretty shitty. And the culture at that time, that time was just 4 or 5 years ago. It wasn't that far away. It was about community. Like something beautiful happened. That community became an essence of who we are and who we are at that time and what we needed to do. Like stick together and everything's going to be okay. Like you had enough people telling you things are going to be cool, things are awesome, things are good, they're going to be good. And I think that when we started Thursdays at Worst Street, we had that potential to bring people together, and we had nights where we had people crying. Yeah. We had nights where people were just thrilled. We went through this range of emotions that was so awesome, so great, because and it was just allowing people to share, you know. And I think that definitely, if today that wouldn't work, I don't think so. I don't think it would. Not to the extent that we did it at that time. I may be wrong. I don't know.
But I wonder if that's like a thing, though. You know, like I mean, people need to feel like. I feel like New York is so cold sometimes that you need shelter, and I wonder if like that's just a thing that people need. But it was accentuated.
Yeah, but exactly, and that's the thing. Is like the fear of losing your job on a constant basis every single day you go to work. it's something that's scary, you know? It's something that really produces a lot of fear in a lot of people. And to be able to express that and giving them the tools, like just giving them the media to express that, is something that today is different.
Yeah. Alright, so should we?
I have my last question, which
We'll do one and one and then we'll.
I have my last question. My question is super easy. Pouring wine and talking grapes. How were you driven to the world of French wine regions and removing Burgundy from the map? What is your favorite wine region and why?
North of Rhone, because they're nerdy with wine and it's small and it's the rebels and it's.
North of Rhone?
Yeah. And then mine. How do you feel, like honestly, how do you feel about the fact that I don't know how to cook?
I thank God every single day that you don't know how to cook. Because if you knew how to cook, I think our relationship would be terrible. Like if you came into the kitchen and be like, no, you gotta add this, add more salt, you're missing this. I'd be like, no, that's cool. It's cool that you got your thing, I got my thing, and we do it so well. And that's what I like.